all they're asking for today is 1/3. I think we have a responsibility to work together and ensure that we pass this 2/3 gender rule so that women can take their rightful place in our society as equal partners.
And welcome back to Punchline. President Kenyatta speaking sometime, I think 2 years ago. President Kenyatta finds himself now in a familiar spot between a rock and a hard place after Chief Justice David Maraga advised him to dissolve Parliament. Now, this is a tough time for the president, with a crippling battle with his deputy raging, an economy that is on its knees, and indeed a pandemic that is on the loose. And while the Attorney General is supposed to go to court over the matter and Parliament due to do the same, there is a growing view that this could be the flashpoint in the president's legacy and the race to succeed him. Join me now in studio, or rather a little later, National Gender and Equality Commissioner Honorable Priscilla Nyokabi, who will be joining us, but via Skype, Mbita Member of Parliament Honorable Millie Odhiambo, who served on the Parliamentary Select Committee on Constitution Review, and here in studio, the Majority Leader of the National Assembly, Dr. Amos Kimunya. And I thank you both for joining us. But on this odd occasion, I'll begin with the gent. So, Dr. tell us your views on the developments so far in regards to that call to the president to dissolve Parliament. And do you actually think the president will do just that?
Thanks, Anne. And it's a very unfortunate development that the CJ, the Honorable Chief Justice, decided, against all options available to him, to use the most draconian to hammer a point that is actually pointless. Why do I say pointless? You find there were petitions starting back in 2016. Justice Mativo ruled that the 11th Parliament needed to pass the law within a certain time frame. That did not happen, and the 11th Parliament was not forced to be dissolved. So the 12th Parliament is now being forced to carry the sins of the 11th Parliament. But the worst situation is that the Chief Justice was aware of at least three things. One, that there's a bill in Parliament that has been passed to actualize the requirements of Article 100, which is the one that says, Parliament shall pass the law to promote the representation of marginalized groups, including women. So he was aware of that, and in fact, he has a copy of it. That was passed in the National Assembly in March of 2020. Has been passed on to the Senate because it involves counties. And we have no control over how long it will take in the Senate. So he was aware of that already Parliament, the 12th Parliament, has already started the process of passing a law to promote the representation, because that's all we are required to do. The second item he was aware of is that there are two cases. Petition number 397 and 401 of 2017. One is by FIDA and one is by the same organization that had gone to court. And they are basically challenging the legality of the 12th Parliament. Parliament has been engaged on these cases. The hearing begins on 7th of October 2020. That's in 2 weeks' time. So the CJ knew that there's a pending matter in court. But instead of waiting for that pending matter to be determined, or at least to be processed through the court process, he decides to act prematurely and invoke his power under 261(7) to advise the president to dissolve Parliament. Now, the third item, and this is where I get concerned. On 14th of September, the committee that oversights the judiciary, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, invited the Chief Justice to appear before the committee. And among the issues they discussed was the transition from the pending transition, because he has to leave office by January. And we don't want a situation like we've had for the Auditor General, where for a whole 1 year or so, even audited accounts could not be done and all that. because there was no Auditor General to sign. Remember, his predecessor, Justice Mutunga, left office months before he was due. And we expected, anyone who believes in governance would actually be saying, I would want to leave now. Can you start the process of getting the new Chief Justice? Because with only 2 years to go to the general election, and with some clouds hanging over the Deputy Chief Justice, and with some, members of the Supreme Court also just about to retire on account of age, one would be much more careful and say, I would like a very quick transition so that we can move forward. Now,
what are you trying to suggest? That he did this strategically to sort of hang on to power in some shape or form? It's
not actually to hang on to power. The worst thing is actually because the committee was very hard on him in terms of, you have not taken leave for like 4 years, or whatever. You have 4 months of accumulated leave. You have terminal leave to take. Isn't it time you actually took leave so that JSC can move in to start getting a replacement? And he was very adamant that he would want to stay on. We want to take a break in Christmas, and will be in office until the last day, right? Which basically tells you that he got so annoyed with the insistence by the committee that 7 days after that, he issues this advisory to the president. So this advisory was not done in good faith. It's an act of self-preservation.
Okay.
But it raises a few issues.
I need to bring in Honorable Millie Odhiambo.
Let me just finish this one before she can respond on it. It raises a fundamental issue. That how do we protect the committees of parliament in doing their oversight role? So that if the Chief Justice appears before them and is asked some hard questions, he opts to dissolve the entire parliament so that he's not called again to answer to when he will go. Similarly, would we expect that when the DCI is called before a committee of parliament to answer on some of the things that before he comes back to respond, the members of the committee have been arrested, or the EACC, or even, for example, the Minister for Internal Security? I have a responsibility to protect my committees so they can do the oversight.
So Paul, in this scenario, Parliament is one that needs protecting. Wow, okay. Yes. A bit of a stretch in your argument there. But let Honorable Millie Odhiambo come in. Mheshimiwa, you've heard the arguments of the majority leader in the House in which you also serve. But you sit here in an interesting position because of your prior work in a committee of the House that dealt with the Constitution. Is this the Chief Justice trying to shield himself, as Kiwunya is trying to suggest? Is he trying to sort of one-up Parliament, or was there really any other option for him?
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Sorry. And I'd want to just indicate that I'm sorry I missed out on what he said. But I can say that the only thing I think I caught on is that he said that the Chief Justice acted in haste. If you look at the Constitution, I don't think the Chief Justice acted in haste. He actually followed the law. And I will not be at liberty to talk much or at liberty to speak in detail about it, because I know that there's a matter that has been filed in court. I don't know the content yet, so that I don't want to be wading too much into what is before court. But I have held, I said it before the floor of the House, and I'll repeat that when the Constitution was passed, that provision was made because in the past Parliament had a tendency that you would make a provision and then Parliament refuses to pass a law to give effect to the Constitution. So it was not only in relation to the gender rule, but in relation to all other laws that were to be passed after the passing of the Constitution. And because of that, all the other laws were passed except this one, that Parliament has made several attempts at passing and have failed. So to that extent, Parliament has actually pronounced itself on this matter. And, we can pronounce ourselves in the affirmative or the negative. And in my view, Parliament has actually spoken in the negative. And so the Chief Justice is seized of the matter, especially if a citizen has appealed to him. And in that case, therefore, he has actually properly, legally, presented the matter before the president. I know many people have argued that, you know, he should have consulted, discussed with Parliament. That is actually more in terms of the PR, but not in terms of the law. So legally, we may say that he did not act well in terms of public relations, but in terms of the law, I believe that he did the correct thing.
Right.
Which was to advise the president to dissolve Parliament. And the president has the option to either dissolve Parliament or to challenge the matter in court, as I believe has been done through the Attorney General, or to dilly-dally. But, you know, in the Constitution, even when no timeline is given, it is presumed that you will exercise, you know, reasonableness in dealing with the matter, in which case, then he should actually deal within the shortest time. But because the matter now is in court, it expands options. And the greatest option is time, is that it has both time, either for Parliament to pass the law or to look for another alternative. So that the option we have now is time.
Right. Although the LSK president seems to suggest not too much time, we'll get into that a little later. We're going to take a short break. On the other side of the break, we'll be joined by Gender Commissioner Priscilla Nyokabi on our panel, Should Parliament Go Home? Stay with us.